And for the beginning, we can just cut it everywhere. But, are you ready to go?
Yeah.
Cool. That's recording? Yeah, that's recording. Sure, that's recording. Okay. Just run right from it. Not that I have any notes on here. But... Okay. Let's do. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, how's it going?
Hi, Ryan Armstrong.
Who am I? Jackie Nelson.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Or
Nice to see you.
See you. So yeah, we're almost at an agreement.
Yeah.
We just got to figure out this one last article on use and subletting and assignment.
Yeah.
We're all set.
I think we should be able to figure it out pretty quickly.
Yep. I'm glad that we've had a good relationship between our companies so
Yep.
far, and
Sure.
I'm glad we're close to
Let's keep the doors
an
open.
agreement.
Yeah.
Yep. So I wanted to ask you, because we gave you our first proposal, right? I can actually read you a section of our Article 22 if you'd like. And you guys shot it down, and I know I wasn't here in the last negotiation, so I'm only working off of what my bosses told me.
Yeah.
But, so our article pretty much said we can use it for any lawful purpose, we can assign this lease or sublet the whole or any part of the premises, and will remain liable and responsible under the lease. And you guys didn't agree with that. Can you just explain what your issues are with that and what you're feeling would make it a stronger Article 22 for both of us?
Okay, so I had a copy of your article and my proposed article as well. So the primary reason that we can't have the lease as is right now is because we will not be able to receive financing from Northview Trust and Insurance Company. So they will not give us a lease for the next 30 years if they don't think the atmosphere, the vibe of the mall is going to be the same, or they don't know exactly what's going to happen in the next 30 years.
Okay. So
So
you have someone who's financing you,
yes.
and their name is?
Well, us, Northview Insurance and Trust, or Trust and Insurance Company.
Northview
Yeah.
Trust
Trust
and
and Insurance Company.
Trust and Insurance. Okay. This is kind of news to me, but not entirely. Because obviously I know you guys need money to set up your stuff.
Yeah.
So you need them to give you a lease.
Well, we sign the leases and we submit the lease as basis for our financing. Like we tell them here are the stores that are going to situate in our mall, and this is where our income is going to come from, and this is how we repay the loan.
Okay. So you need to tell them this is where our income is going to come from.
Yes.
And their concern with our current Article 22.
Yes. So the problem is that at its current form, nothing is certain. Like if you know you're the main anchor in this deal. So if the main anchor doesn't make any commitment to stay in the mall, that's a problem for us obviously, because we're using the main anchor as well to attract the other tenants, and we're having them be complementary to your guys' store.
Right.
So if you guys decide to change all of a sudden, that could be a big problem for us, potentially for our tenants as well, who may now be forced to compete with the anchor and not complement them anymore.
Okay.
So that's the only problem.
Because we do have a 30-year agreement, right?
Yeah.
That's already been agreed to.
I believe so.
So what is the concern? Because we
okay, so let me just read you the proposed one, just so we just get some.
Okay, yeah, I have it too. I'll follow along.
As the premises hereby demised may be used for any lawful purpose, provided that the landlord gives express written approval for any changes from the tenant's current business. If the tenant receives express written approval from the landlord, the tenant may use, assign, or sublet as specified in this express written approval. Under all conditions and all possible changes in the contract, the tenant shall remain liable and responsible under this lease.
So you guys are primarily concerned
with maintaining the vibe of the mall right now, as
with
is.
the cohesion of all
Yes.
the stores.
So we basically want to know what you guys want to do ahead of time, so we plan the satellite tenants ahead of time, and the mall runs perfectly for 30 years. That's
Okay.
more kind of what I want to do.
So
What did you guys have in mind?
So our issues are, so what I'm hearing from you is that you are agreeing to set up this mall in a certain way,
Yeah.
and you want it to remain that way.
Yeah.
Because that way the cohesion of all the different stores and anchors will work together. It'll keep the same vibe that you wanted to start with.
Yeah. Also, as the developer, I kind of have to answer to the satellite tenants who also want guarantees that they don't have to compete with anyone that they're not aware of right now.
Okay. So our concern is over the long term, concerning long-term demographics. Basically, we want to be able to adapt to market changes.
Okay.
Because there's concerns that the demographics of this area, Northview, or whatever the town is called, will change. And so that's why
what makes you feel that?
There is, here, I'll read you a paragraph that I have.
All right.
Let me just make sure this is one. So here it is. While the demographics of the Northview area make this location desirable, you have some concern about the long-term capacity of this small city to support a store of Summit's size. Most of the companies that have located in Northview and provide great opportunities for white-collar, upper-middle-class professional employees are tied in some capacity to the healthcare industry. What happens if these new growing companies move out or even collapse? There's speculation in the media and among some healthcare industry leaders that Northview may not be able to maintain its current level of viability over the long term. There's at least an air of caution and an urgent desire to be prepared for the future. So that's our concern.
Okay, I see that.
So right now, Northview is in great location because we're in a higher end department store, and these are higher end shoppers. But there's no guarantee that in 30 years it will be the same market landscape that it is now.
Okay.
So
So
that's
in line with that, how would you change who you are?
Well, it would depend on the market, right?
Okay.
So, for example, if these upper level white collar jobs go away and are replaced with blue collar jobs that are less affluent, then our higher end merchandise won't be able to sell. And at that point, you have an issue of like we can change the makeup of the store, or we can change the makeup of I guess that would be the use of it, or we could change the makeup of the assignment, and we could have our own lease on the property, or we could sublet it. So those are like different options that we could use to adapt, which is why you see our standard Article 22 is open for possibilities of change in the future.
Okay, I kind of see a little bit of conflict of interest now. But,
Yes.
So the problem for us would be with the assignment clause and the article is that we can't finance something that we have no control over. So if you were able to do whatever you wanted, there would be a problem for the bank because they would be like, well, so they can leave or they just can give this to McDonald's.
Right.
Like they can give this whole space to McDonald's and just leave.
That'd be
So
big
it's a
McDonald's.
risk for us. Yeah, it will be a risk for them to finance that. Having said that, I mean, I understand as a business you need to make profit and markets do change. Just on the side of the future of this area, we made the same assessment. So just to read it off. While we feel that the demographic in this area is generally desirable, we initially had some concern about the long-term capacity. But John Wright, the owner of the company, concluded that this was not a growing concern. That these are like worst fears. Like
Right.
we're imagining that the healthcare industry is going to fail and all these people are going to go out of jobs. But I think that there's just going to be more jobs created, especially with the introduction of your store and the whole mall, which is going to bring more people, more middle-class families into the neighborhood. So I just kind of want to satisfy all parties. Just
Right.
to repeat that, to be able to satisfy the bank and tell them like, look, Summit stores, our main anchor is in this full throttle.
Yeah.
Tell the satellite stores, look, Summit's not gonna mess with you. They're not gonna like compete with you on any major thing because we chose you guys because you fit perfectly together.
Yeah.
So I just want to be able to say that. That's all.
And I agree because, you know, we're working together.
Yeah.
We pretty much agreed to be working together for the next 30
Yeah.
years. So it's a monetary issue, but it's also a relationship issue
Yeah.
because we're going to be.
I definitely agree
partners.
it's a collaborative deal that
Right.
we just kind of need to work out.
So we definitely
make
can,
sure everyone's happy.
And I'm confident we can find an agreement that works for both parties and kind of improves both of our standings.
Yeah.
So basically we have three issues, right? We have use, we have assignment, and we have subletting.
Yes.
So I think that we can probably, make some progress on assignment.
Okay.
I'm just trying to see if I have any information on that specific.
All right. No problem.
Yeah, so I think that we can make some
Yeah.
headway there.
Okay. What are you thinking?
As a possibility. Because the reason I say that is because for assignment, unless I misunderstood this, assignment is a kind of our freedom or lack of freedom to pretty much lease the entire space to someone else.
Yeah.
For our own profit.
Yeah.
And through our profit, you profit, right?
Yeah.
So basically, you have a different store coming in, and they're paying both of us. And we want to aggressively market ourselves and get into the market of the Northview area, the Northeast area. So there's no reason for us to want to give that spot away, that
Yeah.
location, right?
Yeah.
So we can be lenient on the assignment area.
Okay.
However, we can't just give that concession away for no, equal or
Yeah.
opposite concession.
Yeah.
But if that's something that you're concerned with, we can definitely work
Okay.
on that. How do you feel about the assignment?
So for the assignment, like I said, we would like Summit Stores to come in. Once we tell our bankers that look, Summit Stores is coming in as our main anchor for 30 years, we obviously don't want a situation where all of a sudden that changes to
Right.
a store we don't know or a store we haven't planned for in terms of our satellite tenants.
Okay.
They might as well not be happy with just another store coming in, potentially competing with them.
So from what I'm hearing, this is your major concern, right? Is that you don't want Summit to come in, agree, you build this mall around Summit with all these kind of stores that kind of, what's the word? I can't think of the word now. But basically they help each other, right? Like they all work together to make the mall like an ideal combination of stores.
Yes, I wasn't aware this was going to be a problem, however, because I felt we were kind of just going to work together. I wasn't aware that you guys wanted, a way out.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that it's not really an issue because we
Okay.
don't want that.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that it looks like we can kind of help you. but I'm trying to understand if this is your major concern.
I would say this is a major concern, yes, especially if the alternative is, say in 15 years you were like, we want to leave.
Right.
That would be a problem for us, yes.
Okay.
Just what's kind of something that you feel is important to your company regarding this deal?
Well, I'm thinking about it now, and make sure it's working. Okay, so I'm thinking about assignment, and our major concern is an economic downturn. I can read you, I don't know if this is, I don't think this is in our, this is the common information, but it says, the question for the tenant is the degree of flexibility needed to discontinue all or some portion of the national operation if the market changes. Perhaps Summit may need to close its Northview Mall store in 10 years because the local economy has turned bad. Summit also may wish to discontinue operations for reasons not related to this site and this local economy, such as corporate retrenchment. It is possible, but hopefully not necessary, that Summit may need to retrench and close all of its New England and Middle Atlantic stores in less than 30 years lease period agreed to by both sides. So I'm not entirely sure what retrenchment is, but I do know that the economic situation is a big factor for us.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if maybe there's you want us for 30 years. You want us for the entirety.
Yeah.
So
it's a partnership. As far as I'm concerned, we're starting this mall together.
I agree. So I'm thinking that maybe we can work it around the economics of the region, right? So
in what sense?
So have the clause about assignment say that, well, so your version of the assignment clause would right now says, if the tenant receives express written approval from the landlord, the tenant may use, assign, or sublet as specified in this express written approval. So basically, you have control over our assignment, right?
Okay.
So what if we allowed that, assuming a certain economic condition, and if that economic condition were to worsen, then we would have more control.
Okay, so what would be the variable that you kind of keep in mind in terms of economic conditions in the area?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what a good way to structure that would be. I think one of the major issues is white collar jobs.
Okay.
So, like, basically the way it would come down to is, assuming the economy stays at this level of strength, you guys can get express written approval. And then below this economic strength, we have our own option to do as we feel is best for the company. But I'm trying to determine what that measurement of economic strength would be. So you could say,
I mean, I was thinking the easiest way would be to just the profits for the store. This is the direct impact of the economy on you guys. You know what I'm saying?
I see.
So if you were making losses for, let's say, consecutively, like over some years you were making losses, then that's obviously a sign that it doesn't make sense for you guys to operate here.
That the store is not
Yeah.
working. That makes sense. So that's so that's an option. So net losses.
Okay. My only thing with the assignment as well is that just for the financing, I kind of need like a commitment for, let's say, like at least like 70% of the time of the loan.
What does that mean?
So let's say like I'm going to the bank and I tell them that, look, Summit Stores is willing to come in with us for the full 30 years. They're here for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
They see the lease and they go like, well, this assignment clause said they can leave whenever they want. But I'm going to be like, no, they're going to stay with us majority of the time. So majority of the loan will be with Summit Stores being here. And if for some reason their company is not faring well, I think it's only fair that we give them an option out after, let's say, 70% of the time.
Okay. So basically, the financing bank wants us to be there for 70%.
They would like you to be there for 100%.
Right, but that's like,
So, but we need to give them some kind of commitment time.
so is what you're saying, like maybe you have 70% commitment and then this net loss thing kicks in for the last
Yes.
30%?
I mean, that's,
So 70% of 30 years
yeah, we can just
is 21 years.
quickly make sure.
Yeah, it's 21 years.
Yeah, 21.
That's a long time for us to not have control over a certain amount of time that the economics of the area could change. And we were really concerned that within the next, or after the next 10 years, there could be change. So what if we had it, instead of doing it from the 21 years, we had the clause kick in after 10 years? That if we experience these net losses.
The problem with that is that that would be like 30%
Mhm.
of the entire loan, where
Yeah.
our main anchor is like, it's for sure going to be there. So that would be a problem from the lease side. It's for sure, we technically it shouldn't be less than 50%. Like that's like the absolute.
Can you meet me in the middle then and do 50%?
50%. I feel like the middle would be closer to the 70 because it was between 100 and 50.
But you understand what I'm saying
Yeah.
is that for us that like kind of dangerous point is 10
I
years.
just want to make sure that I have all your, just everything on the table.
Mhm.
Just what are the likely reasons that you may leave and abandon the store? Because in all essence, if the main anchor is gone, the traffic to the mall is probably gonna die.
Right.
And if we don't have a ready, reputable anchor, it probably won't work out with the mall.
So this is our only concern
Okay.
about that is economics. Will this area still be
Okay.
a good market for us?
Okay, but
down
I'm
the line?
trying to understand why the assignment is your only option to mitigate.
Oh, it's not. I'm just trying to get a good view of the assignment issue,
Okay.
right? Without making any agreements here, right? So
Okay.
where we are now is you're thinking at least 70%. I'm kind of looking at the 30%, and then working at an economic factor to determine who has control over our assignment.
Okay,
Right.
because kind of what I had in mind about that was that
Mhm.
if, say, economic conditions went down, and your store is not doing that well, let's just
Mhm.
say, hypothetically, your store is not doing well, and neither are the satellite tenants, because you're bringing in the customers.
Right.
Just I kind of like thought that we would find other ways in which you could make a profit, in how you like in the, like maybe your company would develop instead of simply abandon the mall complex. You know what I mean?
Right. And so I don't want to get to the point where we're negotiating over when we can abandon the mall.
Yes,
'Cause
that's
not our goal.
my problem. Is
That's-
that we're
right.
basically discussing we're having a divorce agreement
I understand.
on our wedding night as well.
I understand.
Kind of what.
And I don't want it to feel like that, and yes, it has felt like that, but that's just because I'm trying to, we have the three issues, right? I want to kind of develop a landscape for all of them to figure out where one of us can give and the other can take, and then
Okay.
reciprocate in another area. Because for us, assignment is not as important as, say, the where is it? The subletting, but it's still a concern, right?
Yes.
So
Okay. I see what you mean.
we've discussed assignment a little bit. Maybe we should take
Yeah,
a
we
break from
could.
this and move on,
Yeah.
understanding that we both kind of know where we are
On assignment.
And once we figure out where we are in other areas, we can kind of make
them more easily fit together.
right, exactly.
Okay.
So where do you wanna kind of look at?
We should go to subletting.
You wanna go to
it's
subletting?
something that means something to you.
Okay, sure. We can look at subletting. So we'll go back to that. So let's see. Use assignment of subletting. Okay. The issue deals with the transfer subleasing of only a portion of the total lease space to one of the more separate businesses. So it's like if we have within our store a perfume company kind of taking up a 10 by 10 foot cubicle kind of thing.
Okay.
So it's like an area of the store. So basically, it's how does the sublet groups affect the character of the mall and the character of the store?
Yeah, I think we both can agree that any potential subletters, if any, should be in line with the character of the mall.
Mm-hmm.
They should kind of complement what you are and what satellite companies are.
Right. But at the same time, I think that this is a way that we could alter our character
Okay.
if the economy changes and we need to stay, but we also need to adapt to the new environment that we're in, right? Let's say 10 or 15 years
The
down
way
the road.
I understood it is that would be under use.
That's another way, right?
Okay.
Basically, with assignment, we're here no matter what, assuming we give you complete control for all 30 years.
Okay.
We're there. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be part of this mall. But then, as we change our subletting, maybe we have different departments in there, and we change our use. Maybe we I haven't looked at it yet, but it's like maybe bring it from high end to middle end, or maybe add a different department into it. You know what I mean?
Okay. I understand where you're coming from. I'm just confused as to where would be your interest in having another store in your place. Wouldn't you just kind of want to take control of the whole entire space?
So think of another mall that you've been to, and think of like a department store, big department store. Like let's say a Neiman Marcus. And you'll see in the Neiman Marcus all the different parts of their store that deal with the different clothing,
Yeah.
men's and women's.
Yeah.
You'll also see specific, like for example, a Godiva chocolate
Yeah.
section
Yeah.
of it that's sublet, or maybe like a perfume and those kind of things. Like like Godiva's a nice chocolate. You
I definitely agree with you.
that have the same
Yeah.
vibe of this kind of
Yeah.
luxury brand.
Yeah.
As
That's
the
kind of
corporate-
what we want to maintain.
Right.
We want you to be our Neiman Marcus.
Right, exactly. And so that's kind of the situation what subletting would do for you, or for us, and I guess for both of us, is it just complements the way that the satellite stores complement us and we complement the satellite stores. The sublet stores will also complement us and kind of round out the image or the character.
So just we can agree that any potential subletters would have to be helpful to both your store, to the character of the mall, and basically not mess with the satellite tenants. Because that's the problem that I could see with that.
So yeah, we don't want them to compete.
Yes, but we want them to be kind of in line with the character of the store.
Right.
I mean, I think that could work for me. In terms of your space, how much space did you feel like you would want the option to sublet?
I'm not sure.
Okay, let me just start it off. So as you know, you're getting the best deal in terms of what you're paying for space
Mm-hmm.
to work here. Like, partly because you're our main anchor, and so I mean we're just giving you favorable deals. So our problem with the subletting would be that you would give competing stores lower, just a lower rate than the satellite tenants,
Okay.
because it would be a competitive advantage and a competitive disadvantage for a satellite tenant. So we just kind of need to protect them against that
Because
in any subletting clause that we.
because the sublet stores would be kind of like piggybacking off of our
Exactly.
better rate.
They would be enjoying your better rate without them having earned it, basically.
So I think that it's in both of our interest if we hold them to the same rate standards as the satellite stores, because that brings in more money for us.
Okay.
And if we make more money, you make more money,
Okay.
and it holds the competition against the satellite stores to a certain point,
Okay.
right?
Okay. I understand that. I see that.
So I think that's an option we could look into further, is holding the. Damn it.
I don't know if it keeps recording when that happens.
Holding the sublet stores to the same lease rates, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna write that down.
Okay.
Again, no agreements yet, but we've got. some
Yeah,
options.
yeah. We just have some idea of where we are in each matter.
So for, what is this? This is for sublet. Subletting. So basically, we're gonna charge the sublet stores. Equivalent rates to.
No lower than what the satellite tenants are paying.
Per unit of space?
Yeah.
Okay. Stores no less than.
But also keep in mind that you have the best area, like you have the prime area in the mall. So I mean, ideally, you should charge them equivalent to the kind of foot traffic that you're attracting over there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the equivalent of prime real estate. You don't want to have them pay what they would pay in the suburbs as they would pay in the city for a house. You know?
Right. I see what you're saying. So then, are you not?
I think that we
happy-
can just kind of like put it in a way that we would review together and see each subletter and what they would pay and what they would sell
Okay.
at the time of, basically. So we could just put in that they would pay the fair rents for the space.
My concern with that is that, so basically anything that you have to review
Okay.
gives you, like, we've got a spectrum of control, which basically we can do whatever we want, to we have to check with you
Yeah.
to do anything. And so that is getting towards this satisfaction.
Yes. I know.
And I understand the prices, because we don't want to.
We don't want a competition where it's unfair.
Right, exactly.
That's what we don't want.
And I can also understand the products.
Yes, to just the character of the mall, yeah.
But I'm not sure I can agree to both of those. And again, this is something that we'll have to develop as we get through all of our points.
Okay.
But I'm not sure that I can give you guys complete control over who is allowed to sublet and and how much they pay.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay. So.
And maybe I can, but it kind of depends on how the rest of the negotiation goes.
Okay. So I mean, I'm trying to get the fair deal here. I don't think that we would disagree if once we both agree that we need to maintain the character of the mall, we need to maintain competitiveness, if any, in the mall, and not have one group have a more favorable deal than the other.
Right.
So I can agree on anything based on those principles, to be honest with you. Like, so if you can give me a guarantee, on how I would get this, and you, like, let's say you're not here in 10 years, and I'm dealing with someone else, and someone else is sitting across from me, and they're like, look, we want this because we don't even have to tell you why we want this. We're gonna bring in this store, and there's nothing you can do about it because that's what we agreed on. I just kind of want to avoid that situation. I don't want to have power over you. I just kind of want to be guaranteed that certain things
Right.
will not happen.
I understand that. And it's something we'll have to figure out how to structure that.
So just what do you want for the subletting? What would you like for someone to be able to do?
Okay, well, so first of all, charge sublet stores no less than satellites, fair competition. And then we also want to keep consistent the mall's character. So for subletting,
just for the second one, for the character, so that would mean that, say, the store that you're subletting would be in your range of pricing. Yeah, like it would be a luxury luxury item.
It's not like some really cheap.
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
McDonald's.
Like we don't want to pay less in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's look at what they have for some of the. Okay, well, anyway, for us, for subletting, one of the possibilities that we're looking into, and I don't believe that you have this information, so this would be helpful to you, is, where are we? I think it's on this page. Do you have the stuff about the restaurant?
No, I don't believe I do.
Okay, yeah, so it's in my confidential information. Oh, it might be here. This might be a use question, actually. Well, if so, we can move on to use and look at that. So it says this whole page is an email from my boss, and basically it says. It says it has always been Summit's policy to retain the right to use, assign, and sublet, or to use, assign, and sublet its space as business conditions and corporate strategy require. The company would otherwise expose itself to the risk of being tied down with restrictions that do not permit us to respond appropriately to the market and new strategies. For example, one agenda item in this upcoming corporate planning meeting in Michigan is whether Summit should consider, no final decision has been made, adding restaurants serving high-quality local area food in all U.S. stores. At the Northview Mall, it's anticipated that Summit may use some of its space for a fresh fish restaurant. I have had conversation with Union Oyster House, and the owners of this high-quality Boston fish restaurant are eager to expand and quite interested in operating a restaurant within the Summit store at the Northview Mall. Severe restrictions in use might make it impossible to add such a restaurant to our Northview Mall store, even if our new strategy would require this addition. So that's one of the things that we're looking into as a possibility, and it looks like it's a use issue. So we can move over to use and talk about that for a little bit.
Okay.
And just reading that, what I'm noticing is, from what we've been talking about, it fits the character in that it's high quality and it's local.
Yeah.
So I think it's something we can do.
Well, the only problem I see with it, the only problem I see with that is just, well, the fact that some of our satellite tenants, who are obviously restaurants as well, may also be forced to now compete with the main anchor. Okay, so you would like to, is this a different company, or this is a restaurant within, it's your brand?
This is not part of our company.
Okay.
It's a restaurant that's interested in.
So is it more of a sublease or?
It says it's a use issue. Let's look at use and see if there's like a kind of different information there. The question before the developer is how to control what the tenant will do with its space. The developer must therefore choose an appropriate tenant. Creating an optimal mix of tenants is appropriate for profitability of the shopping mall. Complementarity among tenants requires that certain goods be sold in proximity to other goods, that some stores be granted exclusive rights. Other stores do. The developer must therefore choose an appropriate tenant for each space with regard to ensure the balance of the developer needs of assurance that tenants, particularly Anchor, will not significantly alter the use of their space in the future or provide changes in use, for example, for a shoe store to a video game arcade. Have strong repercussions, the effects of a lesser change. Dang it. The question for the potential tenant is how to retain flexibility to change the use of its rental space in response to changing market conditions. Okay. So just off the bat, what I'm thinking,
Yeah.
It's a seafood restaurant, right?
Yeah.
So, from a proximity standpoint, we are going to want another seafood restaurant to be within, say, 10 stores of the Anchor, of our store, because we don't want them to have to compete with each other, right?
Okay, I see where you're coming from. I'm not sure I would be able to control that, especially if some satellite tenants have already been given exclusive rights.
Have you already given?
Not that I am aware of, but I know it's a possibility.
But it hasn't been done yet?
Not that I am aware of.
Okay. What do you mean not that you're aware of?
So what I'm saying is there could be a satellite store, say a restaurant already in operation, probably maybe less than 10 stores from where you are, and so you opening a restaurant might actually incite that competition.
Well, I think that if you are not aware of any restaurants or companies that have been given exclusive privileges, we need to operate on the assumption that they have not yet.
Okay, so even if they did not have exclusive rights, the fact that it's mentioned is one thing, but fine, we can ignore that. And let's say there's still a restaurant that's operating there, and even from your point of view, you would have to compete with them as well. And they would not be happy with that, you would not be happy with that. What's the space, how big is this restaurant in regards to the proportion of your store?
It doesn't say in the
Okay.
information.
So you would like the option to open this restaurant?
Yes. It's not even a definite decision yet, but we want the option, basically the freedom, to do that sort of thing if we want to.
Okay.
So
you can understand just my problem with the uncertainty
mm-hmm.
of where you guys would be headed and how you'd be operating, because we kind of thought that the idea would be that we would set up all the satellite tenants in a way that we've catered for all the needs,
mm-hmm.
and that would be including dining, and so it's either you do have a restaurant or you don't kind of thing,
mm-hmm.
where if we know that you're going to open a restaurant and we agree to that, we would refrain from hiring any satellite tenant that would open this restaurant.
Yes.
And the other way around, if we knew you're not, we would have to make sure that there's a restaurant around, or maybe a seafood restaurant around.
And you have to understand that we are pretty much on the opposite end of the spectrum, and that we know that there's going to be change in the future.
Okay.
So we have to be able to have a certain level of freedom to adapt to this change, and that's why we're butting heads a little bit in terms of you want everything figured out, and we want everything up in the air for adaptation.
That's the problem with finance and marketing, is marketing has to adapt and finance wants certainty.
So that's a good point, is that you're kind of on the financial side of things, whereas I'm on the marketing side of things. But we also have to keep in mind that a need for adaptation on our part, because of market changes, is just as important to you. Because if we're being impacted by a poor market, or a market environment that requires us to change in some way to survive and to thrive, you're in the same environment, and you've got a mall that's set up in a certain way, and if that mall setup no longer works with the market, it's the same issue that we would have, where we would lose money, we would have economic and financial issues.
Okay.
So I don't think we're as off.
Yeah, I think we're kind of in the same place. There's just a few.
We just need to
There's
balance.
a few kinks.
We have to balance that marketing with that finance, which is true for both companies.
Yeah. So I mean, just kind of from where I stand, is that we don't know that you will have a restaurant or not.
Mm-hmm.
So that leaves me in a tight spot of, well, how many restaurants do I have in the mall? Who do I allow to have a restaurant?
Mm-hmm.
And will there be a problem in the future?
Mm-hmm.
So is this how short of a thing is this? Is this in development? Is this just an idea?
It's going to be decided upon, or there's a planning meeting this week that they're going to consider adding restaurants.
Okay.
But as of now, there's no final decision that has been made. I don't know if the decision will be made on Thursday or not.
Okay.
But as of now, it's not determined.
Okay.
I guess that's the best I can do for you.
Okay. So from what I understand is I will still have to have restaurants as part of my satellite tenants. And if I give you this option to be able to open your own restaurant, I know for a fact that I'm going to have a problem with my satellite tenants. Because they would be put in competition with you essentially.
But they will already be competing with each other, right?
There wouldn't be more. Well, it's more of a complementary thing because like they would still be in the high-end market, which obviously you would also join.
Yes.
So like, let's say there's a sushi place in one side of the mall. The idea is there would be a high-end steak place, like,
in a different part
on
of
a
the
different side. So while they are competing in the food industry and the service
Right.
industry, they are still offering differentiated kind of products.
And I think that we can do that in the same way with this restaurant, assuming that it happens. Obviously, we don't have that information, so it's a little trickier.
Okay.
But I think that there's a way that we can structure our operations with the mall design that they can still be complementary even if this is included. An example, like I was saying, so it's seafood.
Okay. Is there a store already, a sample store? You said this is a different company.
Yeah. So here's what it said. It said at the Northview Mall. I have had conversations with Union Oyster House and the owners of this high-quality Boston fish restaurant. So that tells me there's at least one other Union Oyster House in Boston.
Okay.
So it is a restaurant, and it could be a chain.
Okay.
So, yes, it is already established, and it's already apparently economically successful because it's a high-end and it's operating fine. In the sake of time, though, I want to throw out the option of kind of looking at, now we've got kind of a conversation on all three of these factors, kind of like ranking, okay, what do I want the most, what do you want the most, and what can we give some leeway on? Because it looks like we're both going to have to make concessions.
Okay, yeah, certainly.
So I think it'd be a good idea to use the board, and we can kind of say, start writing some stuff out that we can both look at. Black probably will look the best. So, what are the twos? We have list.
Sublet and assignment.
Yes. I meant the names of our companies.
It's Summit and Right Development.
You're right. I'm Summit.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have Right. And Summit. So, I spoke with my boss,
Okay.
aka Professor Burns, and what my boss told me was that our most important need is use.
Okay.
So the thing that we are most concerned with is our own freedom in terms of use.
So what you're saying is you would really like the option to open a restaurant or something else in your
To open the restaurant, but the other terms of use as well.
such as
I'm trying to think of, or I'm trying to read into it. Basically, the use is the it's not very specific. It just says the flexibility to change the use of its rental space. But like what I'm seeing here is a dramatic change in use, for example, from a shoe store to a video arcade can have strong repercussions.
Yeah.
The effects of a lesser change, shoe store to jean shop, is less clear. So for us to, for example, change from the current department store that we are to a sporting goods store doesn't make sense.
That would be a problem because more likely than not there would be another satellite tenant who's sports as well.
But I think that it's fair to say that we would be able to change the products that we sell. For example, the maybe the brands, if we have issues with some brands that we want to change to other brands, or look into expanding on, for example, our jean selection or our shoe selection. That, I think, is a use situation.
Yeah, I agree that it's a use situation.
So I think that that's the kind of thing that we're talking about with use.
Yes, that's the kind of, I understand that. I mean, I'm just like, I don't have a problem per se with this, except that like going back to keeping the character of the mall.
Exactly.
That kind of stuff.
So, here, like for example, one of the things in here that I thought made sense.
Okay.
I think it was in the combined information. Yeah. For the potential compromises.
Okay.
Was. So Summit will maintain the store's character and style to the character and style of stores in its chain, which limits the changes likely to occur.
Yes.
And that makes sense to me because we have Summit stores.
Yeah.
And it has an image that we want to keep. And you chose us for that image.
Yes.
So it would make sense that any changes we made that fit our image would fit what you wanted.
Yes.
I think it's the second point.
As well as it should fit kind of the satellite tenant, because I picked the satellite tenants after I picked you.
Right.
It wasn't the other way around, you know.
Have you already picked satellite tenants?
Yes.
Okay.
Wright has picked some satellite
Okay.
tenants already.
Not all of them.
I am not aware of the details.
But you know that
But I know
have
that
been.
I know there've been a lot have been chosen in line with your store.
So anyway, use is our number one concern.
I mean, okay. So for me, I think that is a problem because of the restaurant. Just honestly speaking, I'm worried that you opening the restaurant would piss off the satellite tenants and reduce business for the whole mall. Having said that, this is your most important aspect. Like you would really, you need wiggle room in this area.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think a restaurant. Does it say how much space?
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
I would assume. I can't really make any assumptions. Actually, that wouldn't be fair.
I think honestly, this would be my biggest concession in regard to this negotiation.
Okay.
I mean, we could talk about it if, say, I mean, if I got something equal in return,
right.
Pretty much.
So then let me ask you, what is the most important, your most important factor out of these three?
Well, I don't have one specific item that's important to me.
Okay.
I have told you the principles on which I am negotiating here.
Your underlying principles.
Yes.
Right?
So I want the character of the store to be maintained. I want the financing company to be happy. I would like you to be happy. And I want my satellite tenants to be happy.
character of the mall, we have satellite tenants.
Yeah. And financiers.
So I guess then that my kind of underlying principle is freedom to adapt to the market is
Okay.
what
That
it
would
all
be your
comes down to.
principle.
Yeah. So
Freedom to adapt.
and it's not just adaptation for no reason. It's the concern and the risk that the market changes.
Yeah.
Because it has been analyzed that there is at least some risk that these healthcare companies will not stay here
Okay.
30 years from now. So that's our major concern that underlies what we want to adapt to the market. So it's funny that, like, just looking at what we've talked about so far, you guys seem to be at a consensus that Summit is the right call. You don't seem to be concerned about the risk that, so like for example, if the market changes and Summit is no longer profitable, that hurts you too, but you don't seem to be concerned with that risk.
Yeah, we think that if the markets go down, everybody's gonna get hurt.
Yep.
You don't start a business thinking that there's gonna be a recession next year.
Hopefully not.
Because if that's the case, you just sit at home.
Right.
So we understand the necessity for risk analysis, but we think the risk is on the very low side. Okay, so in terms of your flexibility, well, you can see how that might be a problem for us in the sense that we've already chosen the satellite tenants with an initial image we had of your company.
Yep.
I mean, if we gave you such a big leeway in flexibility, I guess if I could have like at least like an 80% commitment on the financier side. Just like you saying that, look, no matter what happens, we will both be in this together for 80% of the loan.
So 24 years.
Yeah.
In exchange for what?
We will give you the option to open the fish restaurant if you would like. Having said that, we will still be hiring satellite tenants who would also cater to the service,
Right.
probably. But I guess that might be a problem we would have to deal with in the future.
But I think that there's a way to make it less of a concession on your part.
Okay.
You don't know any specific restaurants, right?
No.
Is that true?
No.
Is that true?
Yeah.
So I feel like off the bat, if you guys hold off on leasing to any seafood restaurants.
Well, this is the problem with that is we have to submit the leases to the bank.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it has to be done this month. So I would have to have all the stores that would be in the mall before I get financing to even build the mall.
So timing is a major
So
issue for us.
timing is an issue.
So we want to make decisions later. You need to make decisions earlier.
So the more flexibility is, the less certainty
Right.
there is.
But do you see what I'm saying? That if you guys don't have a seafood restaurant necessarily, then if we have a seafood that fills the hole, that fills a niche that isn't taken by someone else.
That's true. But the problem is
But then
you
you
don't know that you have a seafood.
Right,
If
exactly.
you came to me saying that we're going to open this restaurant 10 years from now,
Mhm.
I would know what to do.
Right.
But as is, you're telling me you want the flexibility to open
Mhm.
restaurants. It was just less certain case for me.
But regardless of if there is a seafood restaurant, there are other options for restaurants in the mall. We could do
Okay.
a steak,
Yeah.
a steakhouse. We could
Yeah.
do Chinese food or pad thai. The kind of like American style TGI Fridays. That's like burgers and sandwiches and pastas
Okay.
and like Italian food. So there's different types
Yeah.
of foods that we could.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. The only thing I could see with that would be that given that the stores will already probably be a luxury restaurant that would be open, is that they would probably offer seafood options at least. like, even if it wouldn't be their main consent, like, it would be a Red Lobster.
Right.
But they